Will you please join me in the serenity prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Tonight, our illustrious 40-minute speaker is hailing from Studio City, and her name is Katie. And come on over. All right, there it is. Wow, I like that you guys have two microphones. It's a little dirty in a church, isn't it? If one is good. Hi, my name is Katie. I'm an alcoholic. I feel like I should be like driving a tractor or something. Anyway, my name is Katie. I'm an alcoholic. I did that already. Thank you for having me. This is so fun. It's a church. It's real churchy in here, you guys. Which is nice. It's a good thing. I celebrated 12 years sober this past October. Thanks. Since we're in a church, and since it's my favorite topic, I'm sort of moved tonight to talk about my spiritual journey. I don't really know how you talk about AA and being sober without talking about your spiritual journey, since it's a spiritual program. But I can definitely say for myself, this thing is entirely a spiritual program. I used to think when I first came in, it was like a therapy program, or it was like about therapy, and then I learned that it wasn't. For me, therapy is important. I think we should all do it. But the 12 steps are a spiritual program, and my personal journey is a profoundly spiritual one. So when I got here, I was an atheist, a strong one, big time believer in the atheism. My dad, I was raised by cerebral, empiricist, atheist, CEO, PhD, smart guy dad, who, yes, smart guy dad, not so warm and fuzzy, but super smart guy. Very atheist. Anything spiritual makes you a loser, makes you weak and wimpy. If you have crutches, you're dumb. You're dumb. If you're spiritual, you're dumb, is what I was taught. And I was taught that from like 100%. That's what's true. That's the law. I remember when I was in treatment, they said, most of you in here, if you're in treatment, you believe that there's two ways of doing life. There's dad's way and the wrong way. And that was true for me. I was raised like my dad was the alcoholic. What he said went. It was truth. It was fact. He was my higher power, so on and so forth. So then my mom was a lapsed Catholic. She was born and raised Catholic, and had a hard time with it, as many people do. And then just decided to not be doing that anymore when she got married to my dad, and kind of just abandoned her faith a little bit. And not a little bit, entirely, 100%. And so we just lived in a house that was anti-God, is my point. So I was always a bye. Have a good night. Thank you so much. It'll be funny later. Okay, very good, very good. So, the guys at dinner, these people are so nice, of all these people here. They had me for dinner, and they said, come do the meeting and we'll feed you also. And I was like, that's super generous. And they did that, and they were nice to me. And then we were walking out here, and they were like, so you're going to be funny at the meeting, right? You're going to be funny? I'm like, I'm off the clock, fuckers. This is my fucking serious time. Anyway. So, no God. God was dumb. And I came here, and that's what I believed. And, but what I was going to tell you was that as a kid, I was always very interested in the paranormal and the spiritual, and I used to do weird things, imaginal things, and I used to have lots of time alone in my room, dark room, with the glow-in-the-dark stars that I had on the ceiling, and I would listen to Metallica and Led Zeppelin. Yeah. And I would listen to those guys, and I would have what I now understand was spiritual experiences. I didn't understand it at the time, but I would sort of experience myself feeling very light and expanding and feeling like I was one with all things. And I remember I dated this alcoholic kid when I was 16, big surprise, and he was a drug dealer, And I was like the smart girl getting straight A's who partied with the drug dealer kids, because I like to do both. I like to work hard, play hard. That's how I did things. And also, I was like super chameleon style. I like to impress the smart kids and be the smartest one, and then be like, fuck those smart kids, I'm going with the cool guys. And then go with the cool guys and be like, and feel superior to the cool guys because I was really pretty fucking smart. You know what I mean? So I was like better than everybody, which was nice. So I remember talking to, when I was 16, I remember having this conversation with that boyfriend, the drug dealer one, who was a drug dealer. That's important to the story. And he, like a hardcore drug dealer, like serious, doing stuff up, taking all kinds of crap all day through high school. Like I saved up. I like to save up. I work hard in high school and then go get fucked up in the parking lot after high school. No, you don't do it in high school because you're busy. But this guy was, no, he was all the time. I got to all the time later, don't worry. So, but anyway, the point is, I remember we had a conversation on the phone one night, and I said to him, I had the Metallica on, and the stars were there, and I had like an expansion-y, open-y experience, and he called me, and I was like, Jeff, it's so amazing. Like, I think I understand what I'm supposed to do. I know what my life purpose is. It's like I can see how all people are just one energy force and one energy field, and we're all interconnected, and the connection happens through the heart. And I see myself in the future like at a podium, like talking to people, and I'm talking about stuff, and I'm talking about unity and oneness, and I want to like serve, and I want to like help people. You know what I mean? I think we could really like change the world. I feel like I'm supposed to help change the world. You know what I mean? And his response was, yeah, I just want to get high and eat pizza. And I remember thinking, this is not the right guy for me to be dating. But I stayed with him for like 3 years after that, because he had the drugs. But so my point being, I was having spiritual experiences at a really young age, and they were legit. God was there, and this God thing that we talk about was talking to me and informing me and inspiring me and making me feel happy, joyous, and free. But I didn't understand it. I didn't have any context for it. And I thought, I gotta make this like that. Okay, dirty. I thought, I'm not gonna say that. Okay, I thought that, the context I had for my spiritual experiences was like from acid trip books and like acid trip comedians and acid trip stories. So I thought I equated spirituality with acid, is what I'm trying to say, and weed. You know what I mean? Like you get fucked up and amazing shit happens. You know, that was my idea of what spirituality was, because in my house it was not cool and it was not supported. So, my dad was an active alcoholic when I was a kid, and I'm an only child, and I was always very sensitive, very psychic, very intuitive, and those things were frowned upon. So I learned very early on how to shut it all down, stuff it down. My first love was sugar, and quantity of anything. Lots of food, lots of beverages, kid beverages, sugar. I had my first love addiction in second grade. My first little boyfriend love addiction. Serious hardcore, like Danny Caballero. He was the hot second grader, and I'm determined, I made my mind up I would have him. I didn't know what have meant, but I was going to have him. And truly, it's a sort of funny, but it's a sad state of affairs. I already had the ism of, I'm uncomfortable in my skin, I don't really know how to be here, so I'm going to fixate on something outside myself, need it, acquire it, or desperately attempt to acquire it, and then my whole sense of am I okay revolves around whether or not I acquire it. And then acquiring it and being like, what do I do now? And then I'll acquire something new. That was happening for me at 8 years old. I learned how to dissociate out of my body really, really young. Some of that is because, this is part of my story, and we're going to get real depressed. I did experience some sexual abuse as a very young person, as an infant and as a 3-year-old. And I won't get too into it, but I'll tell you that kind of trauma for a young person creates a pattern of dissociation. You just leave the body because your little 2-year-old brain just can't hang. So you're out. So then the rest of my life became, and I have the gene, the alcoholism gene, which is a fun combo. And so then the rest of my life became about how do I get out of this skin, up and out, just in any way possible. So, I think I tried to get Danny Caballero, and I couldn't get him, so I got Dax Gallegos instead. And he was like my runner-up guy. And I got him. And then this is what I did to Dax Gallegos in second grade. I'm telling you, this is my history. This is a little background leading to the... I mean, the thing was at play way back in the beginning. I got... You know, I'll just tell you the story. I got Dax Gallegos to be my boyfriend. And I didn't know what that meant, but I was going to make it happen. I made it happen, and the moment he agreed, I had a dream one night that he did something to me that scared me. I don't remember the dream. It was vague, it was hazy, I don't know what it was. So I woke up in the morning, a second grader, and I decided to ruin his life. Yeah. And I did. I succeeded. What I did was, it's a terrible, sad story of a sad little girl who was in a lot of pain and who was looking for a way to make the pain be outside of herself, you know? If I could cause it to him, maybe I didn't have to have it in me. So I got everybody in the after-school care program that we went to together to call this kid a name and I picked a name that I knew would be really hurtful and would make him feel really isolated and alone. And we called him I-T. And I don't know where I got that, but it was mean, and it really hurt this kid. And I knew he was sensitive. I knew just what button to push in second grade to hurt this guy's heart. And we did that for 6 months. I isolated this kid. I ostracized him. I called him it. I mean, he was in torment. Until one day, I remember all the after-school care counselors sat us down at this table. And they were like, so Katie, it was him and me and the counselors, and they were like, so Katie, what's up with this name-calling thing? Like, we hear you're calling Dax it. And I can tell you guys that above all else, I remember sitting in my little plastic chair in the cafeteria, leaning back in it, inside myself thinking all right, yeah, I'll say what you fuckers want me to say. Okay, what do you want me to say? Oh, right, yeah, sure, I'll stop. Cool. But inside it was hate and rage, and I'm going to do whatever I fucking want to do, is what I'm going to do. So go ahead, okay, I'll make nice, and I'll say what you, oh, sure, we'll stop with Dax. We'll treat little Daxy nice. But I wasn't gonna. Issues. So I was 8. That's not fun. So I did that, and that's the beginning of it. From there, it just proceeded that way until I got sober, essentially. I can kind of lump it all together and say I spent my childhood and my teenage years and my very early 20s trying to make the pain in my heart get out of my heart by drinking, smoking, putting things on my tongue, eating, sleeping with, dancing with, fucking, whatevering, driving things fast, high up, fall down, caffeine, parties, whatever I could do to make the pain and the rage and the anger and the shame in my heart feel like it wasn't there anymore. And one of my favorite tools at that time was to put it at you, make you hurt so maybe I would hurt a little bit less. Another fun example of that is just before I got sober, and I'll get there real quick. At the end of my college experience, so I went away to give you a picture. I spoke at my high school graduation, and I spoke at my college graduation. I've always been kind of a speaker kind of person. And I did well. I got the grades you're supposed to get. But I'll tell, and I like to name drop with this particular story because I think it makes a point. At my college graduation, Bill Cosby spoke, and me, and I was fucking high. I was so fucking high. And Bill Cosby's there, and the deans, and the president, and my parents had gotten divorced the summer before, and they were in the building together for the first time since the divorce, 4 years later, and that was happening, but it was way over there behind a thick haze. And I did well, man, because that's my thing, is I can perform well. I can put the show on. If the show has to go on, I can put the fucking show on. But nobody in the room or the building or the field or wherever we were knew that inside I had this, I used to describe it like this triangle that was from the base of my throat down to my pelvis. And it was, the tip of it was here and it would go out like that. Triangle. And this is a triangle. And it was a triangle of like thick, black, hate, rage, anger combo. It felt like tar. I had like a tar triangle that moved through the center of me. But at the same time, there I am getting the grades, speaking at the graduation, famous people, money. I got big, impressive-looking jobs right out of college. Blah-blah-blah. Hate triangle inside. Real thick and dense. So that's how it's been for me, is that dichotomy, that play back and forth between nobody really knows what's going on and I'm dying inside. That's my story. Over and over and over. I have 100,000 stories like that. So, another fun example, my best friend from childhood was a girl named Tracy Raffle. We met in 6th grade. We were instant best friends. We were together all the time. And she felt like more my family than my family did. You know, like family of origin was real toxic. I didn't like going home. I always felt like an alien in my home. I felt unsafe in my home. Mom was going to get rageful about something every day. That was just how it was going to go down. And Dad was going to isolate and go up into his office and drink until he was done with the day. And nobody was like hanging out with Katie, you know, because they were busy doing their thing. And this is, I mean, God bless them and I forgive them, but this is the picture. This is what was occurring. So Tracy was my family, essentially. And we grew up together. We were together from 6th grade all the way through high school. And in the last year of high school, we went to 2 different high schools. And I had 100 million boyfriends, because I was a whore. And I was social and outgoing. So I don't really mean, that sounds very mean. I wasn't a whore. But I had 4, like, patterns. So Tracy, on the other hand, was like a nice girl who didn't date boys. She was a little nerdy, a little smart, didn't date any boys, didn't know how to do it. She'd get, how do you do it? Flirting, what does it mean? And she'd be like, how do you flirt? And I'd be like, what do you mean, how do you flirt? You just do. I don't know. But she didn't have that thing in her. Like a lot of 11-year-olds don't, you know? So Tracy makes it all the way to senior year of high school. No boyfriends. Not even a blink of, nothing. No recognition from the loser drug dealer guy. No football people. Nothing. Nothing's going on for Tracy. Finally, she finds this other circle of friends that has nothing to do with me, which already is a problem over here. I'm not cool with Tracy having other people, first of all. She needs to be like super codependently enmeshed to me and only me because I was my family and that's all I had, so fear and, and make it stay. She gets these other friends. One of them is this guy, Judd. And Judd has a crush on Tracy, which fucked me up in a big way. Because I knew he was a threat, and he might take her. Hello? Somebody's phone. Is it for me? No, I think it might be up here. He's like, I'm just gonna let it ring. Okay. Cool. I did that just because I'd be like staring at you. I couldn't even say words, and I'd be like, oh, pretty noisy. There it is. So, she gets this guy, and they're not even together, but he likes her, and I know he likes her. So, underneath my behavior, what I felt was when I looked back at it, having done amends on it, I was just terrified that I was going to lose my best friend. But all I felt in the moment, on the front of my heart, was, must destroy this. Must destroy. So what I did was, it's a bad one, is I didn't like Judd at all. But I made a point. I became 100% driven to make him want me more. I needed him to want me more. So I made that happen. I wasn't even interested in the guy. Stole him from her, went to college, somehow manipulated him to come visit me at college. We got together one time, and at the end of it, I just remember immediately like this cloud of just grief and shame and guilt just descending over me, because this woman, this Tracy, she was the only love I knew. She was my best friend. She was my only real family. And I had just 100% thrown her under the bus. Just 100% betrayed anything that was ever good between us. I ended up calling her and calling myself out on it. I told her everything. She left the friendship for, I think it was like 8 years. We weren't friends. In sobriety, I was able to make really great amends with her, and thank God today we're super buds again. But that was an 8-year period of me having to live with. I lost my sister, my only family, because I couldn't live with her having something that I couldn't have. So that was my pattern. That's what I did. Meanwhile, of course, it's an AA meeting. Talk about the things. I was drinking a lot and doing a lot of drugs, and that I feel like that's sort of the obvious part. I'm telling you guys like the real stuff behind the things. So I had my first drink at 14 with Tracy. We put a bunch of drinks in a thing. It turned green. We drank it. We got hammered, and I pursued that experience like a crazy lunatic person until the day I stopped drinking. She put the drinks in the thing. It got green, drank it, had a crazy time, and then didn't drink again until college. And then got drunk a couple times in college and like called me up and was like, "This is crazy. It's like I can't feel my face." And like, I remember one night she called me and she was like, "Katie, I'm just done, because we went out and we got so drunk and I lost my shoe." Can you believe that? I lost my shoe. I'm so done. And she was done. That was the consequence she needed. She lost a shoe in winter in Chicago, and that was fucking enough. And I was like, and I remember thinking at the time, like, what a fucking loser my best friend is. She cannot hang. What the fuck? She is, I don't know. I didn't get it at all. But I certainly judged it, and I thought it was lame. So she went on to like graduate and make $100,000 right out of college, get married, house, fence, 2 dogs. She's still doing that. It's all good. It's been pretty linear, pretty healthy, pretty normal, pretty great. But I was cool. This is scary. So we're in college, and I get through the college. I'm doing a lot of the drugs. I'm drinking all the time. I'm a definite binge eater, definite serious eating disorder that had set in when I was about 15. That progressed really intensely all the way through college. Graduate from college, moved to New York City. I've been a performer my whole life, and so of course you leave. I went to college in Massachusetts, so I went to New York City to do the acting thing. And I had zero life skills. Like I was good at, I have the brain thing, like I could write good papers, but that doesn't teach you shit all about surviving in Manhattan. Like I didn't know anything. And like money, when I was a kid, they would just like give it to me and then give me guilt about it. They'd be like, "Here's lots and lots of money, but you're terrible with money." And I'd be like, "Okay, as long as I have a lot of it, it's good." And that's all I knew. And then I go to Manhattan and I'm like, "I'm going to take this town over." I don't know how I was doing. So I get to Manhattan, and I'm drinking a whole lot of alcohol. A whole lot of alcohol. Right before I got sober, there was this Tuesday that I always remember, because it talks about it in one of our books. It talks about alcoholics have moments of clarity, right? And there was a Tuesday, I was working at the Late Show with David Letterman, and I would get drunk in the morning and go to McDonald's before work, binge on a McDonald's meal, and usually take a break around 11 or noon to go binge again at the McDonald's downstairs, because then my drunk would be wearing off a little bit. smoked some cigarettes. I mean, the whole day was about managing my state and about managing my high and about managing my, like, could I stay full enough to keep my feelings at bay, and could I stay drunk enough to, like, just be, like, fucking rocking out? Like, was the combo I was looking for. So it was a Tuesday morning, and my friend who I lived in a one-room studio with on the Upper East Side, we shared a bed, she and I, because we were artists, and we shared a bed, and we got some donuts. We got a 24 pack of donuts, the Krispy Kreme 24, best thing you can put in your mouth on the earth, if you ask me. Got them, and she ate 2 of them, and before I knew it, the box was empty, which meant I had eaten 22 donuts in the morning. And then I started pounding shots, and we were about to get in a cab to go to fucking work. It wasn't 8 yet. It wasn't 8 in the morning. And you know how much sugar that is, 22 donuts? It's like, you're already so, I would hallucinate. I would eat so much sugar, I would see things. It was fucked up. So we get in this cab, and I have what I now understand was my first moment of clarity. And I turned to my friend, her name was Courtney, and I said, I was like looking out the window, I remember, and I had this, it hit me. I turned to her and I go, you know what, Courtney, I have a sense about this. I have a feeling, call me crazy, but I have a feeling if I could just like get this whole alcohol, men, food thing down, everything else would just fall right into place. Boom. Like, I fucking saw the light. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I got this shit. This is life, simple. Men, food, alcohol, put it down, good. Everything's good. And I just, boom, that was it. And it was like a fucking, the tunnel was open and God spoke. You know what I mean? And I said it to her, and I imagined in my mind that she would respond in kind. That she would be like, fucking totally, I've been thinking that, I'm with you, yes. But she didn't. She looked at me like I had 3 heads because she had 2 donuts like a normal person would. She had 2 donuts, and I realized later when I got sober, all those mornings we were partying together before work, she didn't have any alcohol. I had the alcohol. I thought we were partying. We were not partying. She was thinking, you're a fucking mess. But you're kind of entertaining, so I'll hang out, you know? So I honestly, I didn't know. We lived together for like a year and a half. I thought we partied every morning. We did not party. It was just me. So, I was in therapy at the time, and I go to my therapist. Yeah, and I would go to my therapist every day, or every week, and I would, every day in the therapy. That's what I do now. No. But I would go to therapy, and I would go in there and talk to her about my writing projects, right? I'd go in and I'd be like, I'm fucking amazing, and I'm writing all this shit, and I'm going to be like a big wig in a big way. And I'd talk to her for a full hour about how hard my writing was and how I was having trouble focusing. And these are legitimate things. I had some ADD issues, and it's like a thing you could talk about in therapy. But I never once touched on any of this other shit that was going on until the moment of clarity day. And all of a sudden I found myself in her office saying to her, you know, this thing happened in the cab. And I like recounted it to her. And she sort of like sighed and like she like relaxed a little bit. And like now I can look back and realize she did that thing that we do now with newly sober alcoholics who finally kind of get like, oh wait, I think I have a problem. And you go, yes! That was what she was doing. She looked at me like, okay. Listen, she said, there's a place you can go. And I didn't know about you guys. And she said, there's a place you can go called Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a really good meeting on the Upper East Side, 92nd Street Y. You can go. There's people there. There's a place for you. You're not crazy. There's a way out. You can do it. And I had no idea what I was getting into or what this meant or whatever. I had projects to do. I had things to write. So I didn't know. This all seemed like kind of like a sidebar to the real issue. But she said, go to this meeting. So I go to this meeting, and this African-American prostitute, crack addict, homeless woman spoke. And I have never in my life, up to that point, ever felt closer to another human being than I felt to that woman. Because she talked about the obsession of the mind, the allergy of the body, how she would wake up in the morning and think, today I'm not going to have any alcohol, I'm just going to do a fucking day. And then by 11:30 in the morning, she'd be hammered and not understand how it had happened. And she'd talk about the fights she would have with her pimp, and they were the same fights I would have with my boyfriends. They were the same fights. We're having the same fights. Because it wasn't about, was she a pimp, prostitute, Amherst College, white girl, nothing. It was about the insides. And she talked about feeling like an alien in her house. She talked about feeling unsafe in her own body. She talked about sexual abuse as a kid. She laid it out. And I never felt so fucking close to someone. And I remember, and then everybody was raising their hand and being like, me too, and crying. And my dad there was no communication in our house. And people were just like being honest all around me. And I felt like I was in like heaven. I felt like this is what I've been looking for. I didn't even know I was looking for something, but this is what it is. And I realized in that moment I had been craving all the time just someone I could be real with. I was so compulsive and performery and driven and like I'm funny and that like I couldn't turn it off. I could never just be a person. You know what I mean? And it was exhausting to live that way. It's a tiring way to live. But in this room I was in with this woman who looked nothing like me. And everybody's raising their hand and everybody's being real. And I was like, wait, you can be real here. Shh, don't tell anyone. And I just felt like I'm coming here all the time. And that was it. I just came back all the time. I did what you guys said to do. I stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped smoking weed. Although that was a big one. That was a shift I had to go through. The weed thing. Which is a fun story. But the point being, the honesty and the vulnerability and the realness and the tears and the laughter about the tears. You know how we laugh about like big tragic shit. And Normie, sometimes I bring my mom to meetings. This poor woman, we were talking about this on the way over. Like, she's just, nice, Catholic lady, just sitting in the meetings, and she's very looking at, people are sharing, and it's very, wow. And then, we're all laughing, and she's like, are we laughing at it with his pain? We're going to laugh. Because we're crazy. So, anyway, I liked what you guys had here, and I jumped in and I did what we're supposed to do. The weed story, you guys know the weed story. I mean, the weed story is like I was sober, but I was like, but I get fucking high, because different thing. And then I had a friend in program say to me, because I remember I invited one of my AA friends, like AA girlfriend, that we talked we checked in all the time, just checking in, here's how I'm feeling. And like, today I just noticed that I was really angry at the cab that went by, and then I just was sad, I was feeling sad. And then at the end of the conversation, it was very open heart, feely, and then at the end of it I was like, so anyway, I've got this amazing weed. You have to come over tonight. Are you coming over? We're going to get fucked up. And she was like, so hey, you're in a 12-step program, and we don't do that. And I didn't get it. And I was like, what do you mean we don't do that? And she said, what we don't do is we don't alter our state with chemicals to get high and not be present. Like, that's the whole thing you don't do with the sobriety. And it was a new idea. I was a few months in, and this was like, what? Like, whatever. And here's the thing about me, though. The thing about me is, for better and worse, I have strong people-pleasing tendencies. And these are my only people now. Like, I had abandoned the bad people. Whatever. You guys were it. So if you were not smoking weed, I better stop smoking weed, because otherwise I can't come to your club and be at your parties. And so I stopped. And I always say that, like, when I got to about 7 years sober, I woke up one day and I went, I haven't had any weed in 7 years. That's insane. And it was like I literally, for the first time, understood that I was sober. Like it was almost like I dropped into my body and got on a deeper level that I had actually done this thing. Because I'm such a weed head. Like I love marijuana. I fucking love getting high. I love it. And I hadn't done it in 7 years, but I didn't know I hadn't done it for 7 years until one day. And then I went, what? And what? Because what I now understand is that my first 7 years in sobriety, I just was like a AA robot person. I was 23. I was 23 when I came in here. And I had no parenting. I had no idea how to be a person at all. I knew how to be a smartass and how to write a good paper and to make people laugh a little bit. But I didn't know anything else at all about anything. And so in my first 7 years, I think I just came in and blindly, you do the steps, I did the steps. You get a sponsor, I got a sponsor. You sponsor other people, I sponsored other people. You speak at meetings, I spoke at meetings. But to tell you the truth, there was a very deep, remember we talked about the triangle of hate and rage and shame that was in me. It was still alive and well, and it was still very much what held me up. My first few shows that I wrote and all the plays I was in my first bunch of years in sobriety, they were all built on that triangle of hate and rage and shame. The characters I played were twisted, dark, angry people. The shows I wrote were, fuck you kind of shows. And that worked for me, and I needed them to be that. That's what they were at that time. And then I hit the wall at about 6.5, 7 years sober. I hit a really serious wall. Now, some people hit it at 10, some people hit it at 5, some people hit it at 4. If you're lucky, you're one of those people who hits it. You're so fucked up when you come in, you're just fucking broken on all levels, and you just come in, and you're at the wall already. Like, I love those people. Like, some people just come in all kinds of ready. They're just fucking ready. They're broken and open, and they're like, teach me. I will weep the tears of sorrow. I will grieve the pain of the... I was not that girl. Like, I came in here and, got straight A's in AA. I got straight A's. That's what you do. You get straight A's. I did it right, again, on the outside. I made it look good. I said the right words. I memorized the big book. Page 473 says, fucking blah. But I was like I was messed up, you guys. I was not right. So at about 6.5, 7 years, I'm supposed to stop talking when? Okay, thank you. This is where it gets fun, or real, or deep, or some new level of something. I had the life I wanted, right? I had envisioned, I learned in sobriety, I did a lot of things. I did Landmark, I did a lot of therapy, I did fucking The Secret every day, 4 times a day, watching it on TV. Like, I'm gonna have the fucking life. I didn't get sober to be depressed and broke. I'm gonna be a fucking badass and take shit over. Then I learned all the Tony Robbins and the shit, and I did all that. And I got really good at getting what I wanted, right? And so I was in Northern California. I was playing a lead role in a big musical show. My first solo show was touring. I was making a lot of money touring that show. I was living in a mansion in the hills for free that I had finagled through somebody who I knew from a thing. And I had this kind of amazing looking life. Once again, I had pretty much recreated my family of origin pattern. It all looked fucking good. America could applaud me and say, you're doing aces, Katie. You got a fucking straight A's in life. And I was dying inside. Dying. And I had worked the effing steps. And I was meditating twice a day. Twice a day. I was doing transcendental meditation twice a day for 6 years. Dying inside. Been to therapy. Done a lot of stuff already. Dying inside. Couldn't stop dating toxic men. Couldn't stop. Wanted to stop. Couldn't stop. Went to some of those programs. Couldn't do the programs. I was a mess. And I really wanted to get high, is what I wanted to do. I wanted to smoke some weed and just calm the fuck down. But by that time, I had too much ego and pride invested in what we do here. I couldn't be that girl who went out. So, fuck it. If your ego keeps you here, rock on. It doesn't matter. There's a saying in Overeaters Anonymous. They say, let your vanity lead to sanity. I like that. Because I don't want to be 400 pounds, so I'm not going to eat 7 cheeseburgers today. It's a pretty simple equation. And yeah, is there vanity in that? Yeah, but I'm not 400 pounds. Thank you, God. Because, you know what I'm saying? So if your ego keeps, look, I'm not going to get fucking drunk. Good. Stay. You don't have to be Mother Teresa. Just stay. Anyway. So there I am. And, it's a mess. It's not good. And, the thing was, the meditation, I was pooping on it a second ago, but the truth of the matter is that it really saved me, because even though my inside triangle of hate and rage and shame was not melting yet, I was still meditating every day, and I would get guidance from God or higher power. And the guidance I got, I started to get desperate enough to be willing to admit to all the people I was good at impressing in AA, I'm having a hard time. Like, I know you want me to speak at your meeting, but I'm all fucked up over here. I started to talk about it just a little, and I started to just a little bit admit that things were not peachy keen, even though I had time and I had done the steps. And so I started to pray about it as well, and I heard very clearly in meditation, you gotta work a real 6 and 7. Like, legit style. You got to understand, Katie, is it up here, what 6 and 7 really is? Well, you guys know what the fuck 6 and 7 is. You know, we're entirely ready, right? Admit it, help, humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. Because, for me, at that time, I didn't have an actual experience of, ow, I'm in judgment of others, that hurts my heart, help me, God, and then I felt different after the prayer. I didn't have any kind of thing where I would actually feel different after the prayer. And I would come to meetings, and there'd always be these little women, these little pretty women, and they were all thin and pretty and shining, and they would come in the meetings and be like, yeah, I just had this great session with my higher power. And I just felt like all this light just descend on me, and I'm just like, I forgive you, Mom, I forgive you. And I would be like, fuck you. I do not have that experience. But I have to, and my first response was to be like, those people are different. There's AA people. We can do those people are different in here real good. We're good at it, right? Anywhere. Your neighbor, you and me, your sponsor, your best friend, your kid, whatever. We're good at that. So I decided there was a group of people in AA who could have real God things, but I wasn't one of them. That was my defensive reaction. But behind that, I knew better. Behind it, in the back of my heart, in my soul, I knew it was that I hadn't learned how yet. But I got a big ego. I hate not knowing anything. So I wanted to already know how to be with God. And once I figured out, and let me reframe that. Once it was told to me quite clearly in meditation, you have a problem with pride and ego, and you need a thing where you actually pray and it's actually different after that. You need that, or you're fucked. You're going to fuck that guy, and you're going to smoke a bunch of dope if you don't get 6 and 7 for real. So, I have a whole story that you can come see a show about that tells you about how I got 6 and 7, and I went to a healing school, and it was a 3-year fucking thing, and I'm now a spiritual healer, and I work privately with people, and my whole life really is about introducing people to a deeper connection with the divine. That's my whole aim now, because it was such a profound shift for me. But the point being, whatever that is for you, whatever form that needs to take for you, my prayer is that you'll find something that is actual. And probably most of you have. I definitely noticed that, it seemed to be the case at that stage of my recovery. A lot of people had found a thing where your heart was tight because you were in judgment or anger or rage or shame, and you would go, oh, higher power, make it better. And it would. And so, but if you don't have that yet, and you're like I was at that moment, it's possible. It's not just possible, it's necessary. And it's real for us. It happens. It's totally, totally real, and it can happen for everybody in every room, everywhere in the world. There's nothing special about me or you or this woman or that guy. God is here, right here for all of us. You just have to learn how to access it. And there is a way for everyone. And my way is not necessarily your way. There's a million ways, as we know, which is one of the things I love about this program. There's no dictatorial, you got to do it like this, and you got to wear this thing on your head. You find what you want to wear on your head. I don't care what you wear on your head. I wear what I wear, then sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do, sometimes I fucking don't. So that happened, and I can tell you that ever since that time, my experience of sobriety is so fucking different. I now understand what the old timers were always talking about language of the heart. And they would talk about, like, this thing is about love, and this thing is about mercy, and this thing is about compassion. I thought in my first 7 years, I thought recovery was about do it fucking hard. You do it hard, you work it hard, you shut the fuck up, you get sober. You work this program. Which is how a lot of us have to do it in the beginning, because that's all we know. We don't know from love and compassion and mercy. We come in here and we hear those words, we start to act all love and compassion-y and mercy-y, but we're like little fucking love robots. We don't know what the fuck we're doing. But to actually, the point is to actually have your heart soften and expand and open, and to have an actual relationship with the divine that you get in here for reals. So once that happened for me, everything changed. The toxic dudes were just unattractive all of a sudden. They just were not interesting. My career stuff has really shifted. I've always done these solo shows. It's now that I do the spiritual healing work, I sort of live in two worlds. I do this really esoteric, deep healing stuff with people, and I do psychic readings, and it's very out there and beautiful and weird. And then I write these comedy shows because my lower self needs an outlet as well. And so I get to make fun of myself in that other world and make fun of whatever. But I do it all, really with the intention of bringing light and bringing levity and bringing joy to the world, because what I know now is that my whole makeup, who I am is all God. It's just God. Any gifts I have that I bring, they've been given to me. They have nothing to do with my ego and my sense of self. It's sort of funny to think that. I used to take credit for things, and we just can't. Because here's how I know we can't take credit for anything. I did not decide as a kid to be a psychic channel for the divine who does weird solo shows. That's fucking, what is that? Society doesn't go, when you're in 6th grade, kids, you want to be lawyer, doctor, psychic solo show person. No, that's not even on the fucking radar. That's not an option. There's no checkbox for that on the career wheel. It's not a thing. And yet I can't help but do it. And every time I try to go away from doing my weirdo shit that I do, no money doesn't come. It doesn't work. I don't get hired for normal jobs. They won't hire me for them. But then if I do this other shit, the whole world opens. And not only does the world open, but my heart relaxes. I'm at ease. I'm at peace. I'm in the right place. You know what I mean? And that's all I ever wanted. I just wanted to feel at ease in my skin, feel like I was in the right place. And when I listen to what I call God and my higher power, and I let it guide my moment-to-moment experience of my life, I'm at ease, I'm at peace, I'm in the right place. So I hope that's been valuable in some way. Thank you so much for having me, you guys. Postcards on the table. Grab one. Thank you so much. Have a good night.